Yeah, looks like we are live. Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, maybe Instagram. We'll take about 10 minutes to go over a few topics for this week. So w- every week we're discussing different topics because there's just so much to cover, right? So today we'll talk about, of course, what I haven't discussed for the last 4 weeks, which intentionally I didn't do is because Claude Bot has been a security nightmare, and I do not talk a lot about security as much as I should. I just don't because I rather talk about it to people that are going to be able to comprehend the security terminology. So security terminologies are very easy to research, but there's so many of them. It's really hard to describe. But Cloudbot AI, I think at this point has picked up so much steam that it is worth talking about because it's causing lots of havoc and the systems all around the globe, especially from enterprise level, because enterprises doesn't have Cloudbot AI yet, but the vendors do, right? Or vendors employee somewhere do. So let's talk about Cloudbot from the shadow AI perspective, and let's incorporate some of the business apps that is coming up outside of Cloudbot AI. So we're talking about software 3.0, right? So in 10 minutes, let's talk about Cloudbot. Let's talk about business application and then close it up with some business vulnerabilities and how to preferably take some measurement to reduce the outcomes, right? Reduce the damages to the outcome. So Cloudbot is something that not AI Claude, the one that everybody knows about, CLAUDE Claude, which is Anthropic and AWS. This is CLAWDE Bot AI. It started as a Claude Bot AI, but because of the familiarity with Claude, they changed the name to something else. So if you're looking it up, please look up the cybersecurity vulnerabilities and the threats that comes with Claudebot. So, if you're thinking about just using Claudebot, don't, at least not yet. And the software part of it, the business application developments that is happening, we're using the software 3.0. Software 3.0 means that this is the latest version of software that is far different than what we had for the last 70 years. So the reason we had lots of shadow IT prior to shadow AI is because of these inability to develop code and develop this code and program those codes and deploy those codes in a very, very fast manner and have lots of least amount of man hours put into it, right? So if you do business application without coding it, without programming it, it was very manual. So business application really helped to say, how do we take this manual task and incorporate that into the system and probably use it through internet, right? So this is where software 2.0 was. It's in the internet. It's able to communicate with many other companies, many other data sources. So let's say, for example, you're running an app in the stock exchange in Wall Street, and you want to connect with Mahwah, New Jersey. You want to connect with Kansas for commodity. You want to go to Chicago, and you want to connect with worldwide stock servers for your FX or something like that, right? So those communications really become a burdensome because you have to continuously maintain those communications. And these communications will happen one day this way, another day will change. So whatever the configurations that you started with 10 years ago, eventually it evolves and there's more of these APIs and things of that nature. But with software 3.0, not only does it solve that problem, as in the communication is self-healing, text to code, code to text, or another way of saying it is like talk to my code, right? Not only is it solving that problem, it's actually solving more apps that previously people thought of, but they just didn't apply it. They didn't bring it online because they thought it was too time consuming or too much of a burden to be part of your app inventory, right? So now people are developing apps a lot faster. So what used to take about 9 months to develop an app, and then by the time you put it out and by the time you see some return on investment, it's been almost 2 years after you spend $100,000 on it, right? And of course, after the second, third years, you have to do a lot of maintenance, and this maintenance end up costing a lot more money. Software 3.0 now, you can release an app as fast as just writing a prompt. If you're using Anthropic Cloud, it will show you how your app will look like. And by the time you release it, it's been like 9 days, and you have everybody in the office started using those apps within a month, right? But within that month, you're able to see software 3.0, which is, like I said, talk to code, right? You are literally going to talk to the code and say, well, this function is working fine, but we need to add more features to it, or we need to extract new features. Let's do this. Just type it in plain English. All of a sudden, app is being built, and now more apps are being built, and these apps are sticking together and doing far more intelligent interoperability than previous apps have been able to do. The software 2.0. APIs are still there. There's still the vulnerabilities that they've been for 15 years. Now there's more of these vulnerabilities because you're adding to more APIs. You're communicating far more than what you previously have done. And now you're exposing your business IPs and your business data to an outside world. And this is where CloudBot comes in. So you don't have a CloudBot because you're smart. You don't use CloudBot because you're an enterprise. You know the security vulnerabilities of CloudBot. But that's not what happens with Shadow IT or Shadow AI. What happens is that the vendor's vendor will have CloudBot, and these CloudBots will gain access. Because if you think about it, what's happening between communications is authentication. So any system that's communicating with each other is going through an authentication process. And if you have authenticated with somebody who has access to your system and they have allowed somebody else access to the system, CloudBot literally can do the damages that good guys will use for their benefit. So will the bad guys, right? The bad guys will use it for their benefit. So how do you get around this business risk that is not only growing, it has been around here for 15, 20 years, right? It's not going anywhere because you don't want to go back to software 1.0. Nobody's running a business that way. Everybody's going to do software 3.0 going forward. Right now, the reason you hear all these shadow AI and software 3.0 conversations about developing business apps is because individuals that are within your organizations going after these tools is because it makes their job that much easier, and because it makes their job that much easier, they're able to kind of just out of good intentions, they're just saying, hey, I can help everybody if I can just do that. So if you have an employment base of 5,000 people, you don't know where in your organization you have that shadow IT or shadow AI. So you really have to rely on the old tactics of this thing called communicating with your employees and letting them know about shadow AI and letting them know this business apps are very easy to develop, very effective, very useful, but not for us. We cannot go there yet unless we have a strategy in place, and then we can operationalize that strategy. Then we can go tactical with developing as many business apps as we need. Those business apps really are based on large language model. So just like you will talk to code, you will talk to an app. Just like you will talk to an app, you will talk to your data. Just like you will talk to your data, you will talk to a business process of yours, right? So as you can see, they get more personalized because if you're able to talk to a code, you can talk to any code. If you want to talk to your business process, you can talk to your business process, but you have to get to a point of maturity where you're talking to your data first. And then before that, you have to talk to your code as well, right? So strategy, operation, tactics, we use that in military. Pentagon throws out the strategy, throws in the strategy, and we operationalize it. Once it's operationalized, now everybody around the globe does what the operational teams will tell them. And that comes through a training, that comes through strategy, pretty much, right? There's so many ways to say it, but strategy is what we really need at this point. And that strategy was going to talk about that if we are to develop an LLM, who owns the data? Where's the data ownership? What's the business risk behind it? If we have use cases, do these use cases have buy versus build mentality behind it? Because some of the use cases you can build, some of the use cases you can buy. But if you buy it, there's a data ownership different than to use it, right? Just to be a user, you have a different data ownership. If you build it, you have a different data ownership. And then we talk about hardware, software, and data. But again, those are operational things that we will discuss. However, shadow AI is a present problem that has been around for a very long time, but it's really getting bad. And we can talk about MongoDBs, some of the databases that businesses really rely, and they do not require any authentication. So guess what? You're communicating with a system where your data lives, yet there's no authentication between you and the communication. Very fast, but if you've seen any topics that you're interested in, take that, put it on Google, put it on ChatGPT, put it on Claude or Gemini, and take notes on those because you want to dig deep and learn about them as we go. Thank you so much. It's literally under 10 minutes. I appreciate you all and have a good week. We'll see you next week. Ciao.